has existed in many forms throughout the years. First as battle mode in the Saturn version of Resident Evil 1. Then Extreme Battle Mode in the DualShock version of Resident Evil 2. Gee, what a step up in the name department there, guys. It would officially adopt the name Mercenaries in Resident Evil 3, but those were all timed races to the end, and the Mercenaries as we know it today didn't really take shape until Resident Evil 4, where it has become a time-based score mode and has mostly remained as such since. With a combat system like Resident Evil 4's, a mode like this makes perfect sense, as it gives combat a place to shine. Truly shine. However, up till now, I never really played it to any significant degree. Sure, around here and there, but that's it. I had no interest in playing beyond that. Score-based modes don't really hold my attention. I'll play a level a few times, see how I do, and then I get bored. Even the hand cannon wasn't enticing enough to make me play this game mode because extra weapons that break combat don't particularly interest me either. Case in point is, Mercenaries was not really my thing. However, since the remake was announced, I've been thinking about the series a lot in general, which led me to asking, how can I even claim to know this game as well as I do if I've neglected a whole section of side content? So I did it. 5 stars, every level, every character. Was it worth it? Let's find out! The objective of Mercenaries is simple. Pick a character, get a high score. You chain together kills, you use score bonuses, you pick up hourglasses to extend your time. In general, it provides a faster paced experience than the main campaign. Instead of having a full arsenal and managing your ammo, you have a limited arsenal and are trying to keep those combos flowing. Setting up melees here isn't as beneficial as in the main game. You're better off just shooting them dead as fast as possible so you can move on to the next enemy. Not that melee doesn't have a place here, it's still good for crowd control, but you can't spam it like in the main game. It's more likely to lead to the end of your combo if you do. So, again, just kill them as fast as possible, move on. You're a merchant of death and they're all lining up for what you're selling. The only other use for, like, melee attacks is more specific use with some of the other characters that you get to play with, but we'll get to the characters later. For now, something that I did enjoy was the abundance of ammo you get versus the main game. It allows for and encourages more frequent use of weapons that you're more likely to hold back on because you want to use them for the more powerful enemies, like the Magnum or the Sniper. It remixes levels from the main game, gives you a whole new area that wasn't in the main game, gives you a whole new enemy that wasn't in the main game, and I think that's all pretty cool. And again, the whole change in pace is just enjoyable. I mean, I love Resident Evil 4, but it's nice to experience its combat in a different context. And with that, I like the whole free-form nature of this experience for the most part. You can use the map and pickups to plan a basic route, but for the most part, it's a lot more chaotic and unpredictable than the main campaign. As for what you're getting here, the amount of extra content you're getting for a free unlockable game mode is pretty damn good, especially considering this is only one of 3 extra pieces of playable content. With this alone, you get 5 playable characters, 4 playable maps, and an extra weapon for the main game if you 5 stars every map with every character. Each character has different loadouts and abilities, so based on the level, certain characters are going to excel over others in each map. For levels, you got Village, Castle, Island, and the special level Docks. I think that's what it's called. I'm a professional. It's apparently called the Waterworld Island, because that isn't a stupid convoluted name. Not at all. For characters, it's Leon, Ada, Krauser, Hunk, and Wesker. I always found it sad that Lewis isn't playable, you know, especially since they pull Hunk out of nowhere. Like, they just like, yeah, remember this obscure character no one ever talked about? Like, he's apparently a badass. And you know, I feel like Capcom has just been desperately trying to convince us, like, no, guys, Hunk's cool. We swear. It's like Matt in Death Note. Guys, don't believe us. He's cool, even though he barely does nothing and has no character. Either way, it is a decent lineup. Maybe in the remake we can get Luis. Maybe in the remake we can get Ashley as a mercenary. She just runs around throwing lamps at people. The extra characters are really the highlight of Mercenaries because, one, their different loadouts push you into experimenting with weapons and items in situations you might not use them in during the main campaign. A good example would be that I never thought a fire grenade sniper combo would demolish Garradors, but it does. I found this out playing Castle with Ada, and now I know how to ruin these guys' day in a way that I didn't know before. So thank you for that, Mercenaries. That was vital knowledge. Vital knowledge. I now have another way to break the game. Oh god. 2. These characters have special moves that are just a blast to play with. With Leon and Ada, not so much because their moves are just the same moves they have in the main game and in separate ways. However, the other 3 characters have way more specialized moves that are just badass. Like, Wesker can palm enemies through time and space. Hunk snaps necks like they were glow sticks at a rave or something. Krauser has the power of... I like to call this move, F you, I win. Literally demolishes everything. And I mean everything. Even the special enemy special to Mercenaries. It one-shots it. Krauser is broken. Not emotionally inside like I am. He's broken in the good way. Then again, playable Krauser was made just for Mercenaries, so I guess it cancels out. If that weren't enough, this dude has some deadly kicks and a bow that staggers just about any enemy. Krauser is the best. Says me, the person who's been playing Resident Evil 4 for like more than half my life at this point, and am only now playing through this game mode. Also, if you ask my top scores, they beg to differ. But that could also be because Krauser doesn't have the sniper, and in this mode, sniper reigns supreme. Not that it was ever a slouch, but when the cards are right and the RNG gods feel it within themselves to bless you with their good fortune, you get to just go on rampages with this thing. And I do mean rampages. It like one-shots most enemies, it one-shots Plagas. Whatever it doesn't one-shot, it makes quick work out of. And it hits multiple enemies, effectively making Ada and Wesker 2 of the best characters in this entire game mode on that alone. You know, if Krauser couldn't literally banish all existence in front of him to the Shadow Realm. If you ask me, between Ada and Wesker, as much as I'd love to say Ada comes out on top, Wesker has the Magnum and better grenade selection. Leon is unfortunately the worst character in Mercenaries because not only does his moveset not translate well to this mode, he's given no grenades. Like, no grenades. Every other character's given grenades of some, variety. He's given none. And the worst weapon selection. Why does Mercenaries hate Leon Scott Kennedy? I'll never know, okay? Grenades are crucial to this game mode, let me tell you, okay? Now, to make it seem like I'm not just slobbing mad knobs over here, if I had to, nitpick a complaint, I would say the enemy variety could have been better within the levels. It's usually whatever threat enemy is associated with that area and one big type enemy. Village has villagers and the Chainsaw Sisters. Castle is cultists and a Garrador. Island is soldiers and the minigun guy. And the special level has this lovely nightmare. The only way I can describe him is Mr. Salvador if he was pumping steroids and distorting anthrax. The band, not the drug. I'm glad he's not in the main game. Please don't let him be in the main game in the remake. Or maybe do. Actually, I can't decide whether that'd be cool or not. As a one-time boss. If it was a one-time boss, I think that'd be a cool boss. Either way, even though this game doesn't get that spicy with enemy variety, it still manages to be varied enough by just the layout of the levels. The town is mostly flat with a great center area to facilitate combat. There are second floors you can go on, some of the roofs you can go on, but mostly is on that flat field of combat. You can duck behind houses if you need to get away from enemies. And it's mostly unchanged from the original section it pulls from, other than you can now go in this barn here. There's not much in there, but you can go in it. The castle's almost completely different from its original counterpart. The first section's the same, everything after that is brand new, and it kind of has an interesting concept where you start at the bottom at the same start every time, and you kind of work your way up until you get to this section that just kind of becomes a circled arena that you can use to keep your score going. I would say one thing that does let this level down is that when you know how it works, it kind of plays out exactly the same way every single time, and it's the only level where one special enemy shows up throughout the whole thing, and that's it, and it's a Gyarados. And if you're playing as Ada and Wesker, you can just demolish this thing with the fire grenade sniper combo I brought up earlier. If you're playing the other three characters, there's a little bit more trouble, but not that much, as you can grab this fire grenade from a barrel next to this hourglass. You know, the one just up the staircase to your right at, like, the beginning of the level. Honestly though, outside of that, I do think this is probably my favorite level just because it taught me the fire sniper trick, and I just like the whole concept of it, how you start at the bottom and you fight your way up. Island is probably my least favorite. It's the biggest of the maps, tons of verticality with the layout, which means there's a lot of opportunity to have your combo break off. You can also lose a lot of time just climbing shit trying to get away from enemies. Also, they're oddly spread out in the map, which can sometimes lead to these like lulls in the round where like no enemies are anywhere, and it kind of just feels like your time's being wasted. Also, the main threat is the minigun guy, which can hit you from a considerable distance. Not a problem for Ada and Wesker, but for Leon and Hunk, it can cause a lot of troubles. Krauser can just... It just feels like a total clusterfuck of a map, and I just hate it. And then you have the Waterworld Island. It's a map specific to this mode, and it's a very open map. There are two kind of closed off sections on each end of the map, but for the most part, it's very wide open. It has about the same amount of verticality as the last map, leading to the same problem with climbing, but overall, because of the wide open space, not so much of a big deal. You can just shoot enemies from afar if you're a good enough shot. Combine the variety in levels with the variety of characters and their loadouts, and combat can get interesting. Like trying to do Castle with Leon. It's hell. Or trying to do Island with Leon. It's hell. Or trying to do Docks with Leon. Outside of that, and how broken Krauser is, each character has a level they excel at. Not you, Leon. Oh my god, I never thought I'd be dissing Leon so much in my life. I'm sorry, I love you in just about every other context, but not Mercenaries, damn it. You goddamn trash. Ada, I think, excels at Castle because she has the fire grenades and the sniper, meaning that she can make quick work of that Gyarados, no problem. Hunk, I think, is the best in the village because he can perform that neck break move on the Chainsaw Sisters pretty easily. And I think Wesker excels in Island and Docks because he has the Magnum and the Sniper and a really good variety in his grenade selection. The truth of all this is that Krauser is the best character because he can just, eviscerate every enemy in the game, but like, that's too easy of an analysis, and I wanted to have a bit more of an interesting critique than that. So, these, outside of Krauser, and of course Leon, we're not talking about you, go sit in your corner, shame. These are the characters that work best in these levels. While capturing more footage, I found out that you can stunlock Crackhead Salvador with Leon's shotgun. So it turns out he's not so useless in this game mode after all. However, this leads me back to kind of what I asked earlier. Was it worth playing this game mode? Was I missing out on something by overlooking this game mode all these years? Or was it everything I thought it would be? I mean, it is what it advertises itself to be. A simple time-based score mode, and not really much else. But through it, I got to experience combat in a different context. I got to experience some beloved levels in a new light. I got to play a whole new level. I learned some new tactics. And I got to wield the power of God. So, like, yeah, I think it was worth it. It was definitely worth it. I always think it's worth it to experience games that you love in a different way that you haven't before. If you truly love a game, you should experience everything it has to offer, even if it's not your favorite thing. Even if you don't want to return to it afterwards, you know, it gives perspective on what works and doesn't work. And that's really what I got out of playing Mercenaries. A perspective on a game that I've loved forever. Anyways, I'm gonna go play in traffic now. I'll see you all later. Bye.